Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It is Wednesday, the 24th of August, 2022, and this is a regular board meeting of the Waterville Valley Select Board. My name is Rich Rita. I am the chair, and with us today is the vice chair, Margaret Turner, and member Bob Freeze. We have a quorum. Privilege of the floor. I see Irid and John. Are you here for?
We're here to support Linda.
Okay, all righty, so I'll just move along. Why don't we just get an update at the top of the situation with regard to the water main, not main break, the water line break on West Branch Road?
We did have a water line break in the vicinity of the west end of Mad River Bridge yesterday afternoon. It was reported sometime between 2:30 and 3 o'clock. We shut off the water service and started the repair process. We had sufficient water in the reservoirs so that services on the east side of the river were not changed in any way. We did turn off the water service and had an interruption in service for the homes on the west side of the river. On West Branch Road and River Road. We put notices, hand-delivered notices to all of the houses when we turned off the water service. If the homeowners were home, they were briefed on as to what was going on and the steps we were taking to restore service. Ellie Johnston, and there were some, like Margaret, that I had called personally, in addition to the hand delivery of the notices. Ellie Johnston was called. They arrived approximately 5:40, and they started the repair process at that time. They put a collar. It was determined to be a crack. A repair band was installed on the main. This is the main coming out of the treatment building. Correct. And going up to the reservoir on Snow's Mountain. So it's the main distribution line coming out of the treatment building.
So before it goes under the
Before it goes
under the river and the old.
Yeah, in the old crossing.
Crossing.
They finished that and water was restored at approximately 7:50 last night. The lines were flushed through the hydrants at the end of River Road last night. We did receive a call this morning that the water was still cloudy. And so we went out this morning and opened up the hydrants and some water spigots on some of the residences in order to flush the line. As I told you in my email to you, it's difficult to clear that cloudiness, which is air in the water line. It's difficult because it's a loop system and it's a dead end. So you don't have water going through the entire system. So that's why we open up the hydrants and get water flowing. The air eventually through use and through water going through the line will clear up. So, and I did verify with Mike Fergal this morning that as we were flushing the lines, his water cloudiness went away and returned to clear water. I don't have any firsthand knowledge of any other residences up there, but I have not heard anything. We have not received any other calls today about continued problems. We finished the second flushing this morning at about 10:30. 10:30. Around 10:30 this morning. So, and I know Margaret had some questions.
Yeah, when you say it's a closed loop,
system. I mean, there's gotta be a place that water goes in and water goes out, so how can it be a closed loop?
It goes in the same way it comes out and vice versa. It's not, so for example, it's not like something on Valley Road or Village Road where it's continuously flowing. And it's not capped, if you will. So because it had nowhere to go outside of River Road. What happens is it's a low spot as well. So the air gets trapped because the water can't, it's gonna take the path of least resistance. So if there's a pocket of air, it's not gonna flow to the pocket of air, it's gonna try to go around. So instead of when we have the hydrants open, for example, because they're both on the end of River Road, there's nothing smack in the middle of the road. There's no way to force any air out of that low spot or sediment. That's the main issue with River Road.
Okay, but my property then would be on a high spot, and that's why some of the people that live, whose houses are below mine, have more of a problem.
Correct.
Yes.
That's why your water cleared up faster than say Mike Hurdles or Sandy Marcy's.
Mhm.
Because your house is high.
But the air will eventually dissipate from the low.
It will.
Low spots.
Mark said, I didn't speak with him, Mike Hurdles had started to clear up. I would imagine that the additional people in the neighborhood, theirs would as well.
And when this happens, is it safe to drink that
is.
water?
It really what it is, it's a combination of the air and just the surge of water coming through. It can, any sediment that could be in the water line, which it's not a danger to anybody, but it can get stirred up. That's really all it is.
And the sediment is usually at the beginning, which is why you saw the discoloration last night.
Mhm, mhm. And do we know why this crack occurred?
We don't.
How old is the pipe?
It's
30.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's 30 years old. When we built the new treatment plant, we used the same distribution line that was coming out of Well House 2. So it's been there since Well House 2 was built.
Okay.
One of the things that we just need to discuss about a possible cause is when the new valves were inserted, put in place for the new river crossing. That line was strained, obviously, in order to install those. When all the water rushed back from the reservoir, the pipe hasn't seen a flex of stress like that. I don't even know the last time anyone made break in that area, so that could have been the cause of it. And that would line up directly with when it was put back into service, crack had formed, and then finally, as more water was being put through the system, it really.
So a couple of weeks ago, when you shut off our water,
Correct.
you're saying that at the point in time when that main was turned back on, there could have been more force against that pipe than it had dealt with in the last 30 years.
Correct.
Well,
Yeah.
because all of the force, that is pressurized by the reservoirs on Snow's Mountain,
Okay.
Which is one of the lowest spots in town, that area
Mhm.
of.
right there by the bridge.
Right,
Is that.
right.
So this picture of pipe that has zero pressure on it, then being hit with over 150 PSI of pressure.
And it was unweighted because it was exposed,
Mhm.
for a time. So it didn't have, usually what happens is that, and this is true on any other water main break, when you go to repair it and you repressurize the line, it's been unweighted. It's used to that spot. And then once you take all the weight off it and expose the pipe can flex, minutely, but sometimes it's just enough to start a crack.
So as we continue the work on that project, are we likely going to have shutdowns?
There should be no more shutdowns.
Okay.
Other than a break. Yeah. There should be no need to. The 8 inch is complete, and that's the only reason we needed to shut it down to begin with. The 6 inch is not completed yet, but it is on the other side of the road headed towards the pump.
But the 6 inches, the new pipe,
That's the new
the
one.
8 inch, which is the pipe that cracked,
Is-
is done. The work on it, the exposure of it is finished.
In this field, is there no OM or PM schedule tied to a lifespan of a water pipe?
There is.
There is, okay.
It's specific- Really with the state though, what they, as a common practice, what they typically recommend is a break is bound to happen. On any pipe, really, it's just. Timing, it's never great. But areas like Snows Mountain Road, for example, which we've talked about, that have multiple breaks all within the same area, that's when you have a chance to replace that line. That's what they want. One break is no big deal. But when you have 3 or 4 or 5, that pipe's integrity is basically out the window. Yeah.
Right.
And as far as water lines, I've been in communities that have had water lines 50, 60. you know,
There is no
70.
replacement
There's no
schedule really.
replacement.
It's
Not
when,
unless you get,
you get-
I mean,
Right.
we need to replace the line on Snows Mountain.
because it's already
Because
compromised.
it's compromised like 10 times.
But those breaks, the breaks we usually get are more related to freezing, right?
Freezing or
Or the
Bad.
presence of the rock
presence
that's
of
up against the
bad,
pipe.
Okay,
bad bedding, you know, they weren't really.
Frost would be another, you've got a rock against the pipe and you've got frost action going on. That is sometimes a problem. And one other point too about the air. We can clear the air in Maine.
Yeah.
But we can't clear the air in your service mains and in your houses. That has to be done from the house.
you have to turn on the,
You have to turn on your
The
water
spigot.
and
Running
not,
water and just-
and not turn it on full blast, but turn it on slowly in multiple
Every fixture
places,
of the house.
every fixture. And the reason you don't want to turn it on full blast is the air won't escape. So you turn it on just a little bit more than a drip, get a flow going, and that'll allow the air to escape along with the flow. So,
And the more plumbing you have, obviously, the longer it's going to take.
So probably everybody else understands this, but 8-inch main and 6-inch main.
Mhm.
We have an 8-inch that is coming out of well number 2 for the treatment
it
building.
comes out of both now.
Okay,
Yeah.
so there's an 8-inch main that comes out of there, the water goes through there and it goes through the thing in the river.
It
The
goes-
existing thing in the
Under the
river gets
river.
pumped
goes
up to the reservoir.
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
all of it, or does some of it get diverted?
Well,
for-
It depends upon the demand in the system, because, say everybody in Golden Eagle is full and everybody's taking a shower, okay? Or whatever, just imagine that. And so that's your greatest demand. So the way our system is laid out, all of that or none of that water will get pumped directly to the reservoir. Some will get diverted off on some branches that branch off that main.
So
Or
Margaret,
go into town.
what used to happen, we lived in Osceola townhouses.
Mhm.
So when the water gets to the top of the hill by Stone Tower Lane,
Mhm.
there's a branch that goes off to the right.
Right.
through High country.
Right,
We would get stronger chlorine smell in our condo during Christmas week or February vacation week, because the demand out in the system was higher and the water was flowing past our house and going out into the system rather than going up to Snows Mountain.
okay.
So-
And there's also an 8-inch main that goes under the 8th hole of the golf course,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Okay. Now tell me again about the 6-inch main. What is that?
That is the one that is, there is a line that comes from well 3 that crosses the river just. down
Mm-hmm. The
by
new,
well
ri-
3.
the new river crossing,
No,
No.
the
no,
old one.
the old one.
the,
Well 3
That we-
crosses about 150
Mhm.
feet up the trail, if you will, towards West Branch Road.
So we're not-
Crosses the river.
We're not talking about
Comes
the
up to
concrete
the
bunker,
dog
we're
park.
talking about something that's already dug
In the-
underneath the river quite some distance down from the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
one we thought might have caused the.
Yeah. The water is
Bacteria.
produced at well 3,
Mhm,
Right.
goes under the river, goes
Mhm.
onto the rec land
mhm,
across on the
Mhm.
east side of the river
Mhm.
and runs back towards West Branch Road.
right, right, and it used to
And it
go
used-
into pump house one, but
One,
not
correct.
anymore.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
not
now it
anymore,
goes under,
Because we've gone and we've intercepted that
right,
with a 6-inch. And brought it under the river
To eventually the well,
to, and that's what's going
water
to,
treatment.
that will be the
Treatment.
transmission main. To get well 3
Right.
water to the treatment plant,
and is that river crossing the new river
the
crossing?
new river crossing.
Okay,
And-
so the water, I'm sorry to be
No,
too
that's
about that.
okay.
The water that is in this 6-inch main that eventually will be flowing from pump number 3.
Yeah,
It's gonna go through the new pipe that we just put in the river, and it's gonna go from east to west.
Correct.
And then it's gonna go north towards the
The
treatment
treatment,
building.
correct,
That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay,
where it'll be treated, and then it'll come back out the old
Mhm.
8-inch main. Okay, and go under the through the main and the exposed concrete.
mhm,
Mhm.
But what we've done is on either side of the bridge, we have put valving in
Mhm.
and taken a new 8-inch. And buried it with that 6-inch in the river crossing to
Okay.
connect to the other side. In case we ever have an issue with that
Two-way then.
exposed concrete
right,
transmission.
right, okay. So down where they put the new crossing in, there's both a 6-inch and an 8-inch
Correct.
main, one of them
Yes.
going one way, the other going the other way.
Correct.
Okay,
And we're abandoning the old,
No, we're gonna
Line from-
continue to use the old crossing.
I'm talking about the one further down that for well 3.
No,
so
we're
you're-
using that to get the water to
Okay.
the treatment building.
Right.
We've abandoned the piece between the new crossing and the well house 1 building.
Okay,
We
I get it.
abandoned that.
Okay, that's what we're, I figured, I knew we abandoned one, just couldn't get straight in the head which one we did. Okay.
There's
probably
one
have to
other thing-
review this again
No,
because.
that's okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll draw a picture and actually. help
Pictures are good.
people. Yeah. The other thing is, there was chlorine, people asked about chlorine smell.
The first time I
The first
smelled the
time.
chlorine, I didn't smell it this time.
I had a couple of comments this time as well.
Okay,
We do increase the amount of chlorine for a period of time after we do this kind of work, whether it's the construction or the repairs, just to make sure we don't have a bacterial problem.
mhm,
So that's why sometimes you will get a higher chlorine smell than you
Perfect.
normally have.
So do we have a cost estimate on the repair and where will the funds come from?
We have a water repair account
Mhm.
that we fund every year.
Mhm.
That's where the money will come from, and I don't know how much.
They run close to between 2,500 and 3,000.
And we have enough in this account, yeah.
was there any way to anticipate that the pressure coming back on would be a problem and to put it on slowly is the only way I could
Well, that's
think
what,
about it.
that's the rule of thumb, whether you're operating a hydrant. As Bob would know, you open the hydrant judiciously, but you close it more judiciously, you don't slam it shut. And that's the same way that, when we operate a gate valve, when we close it down. Once we know we're getting close to being closed, you slow it down and you just take your time.
Okay.
And we
And when
did,
you open, you do the same thing.
yeah, we did not have a wide open line
Mhm.
and just let it hammer in. We did control it, but it was still a lot of pressure. I mean, eventually it did get up to that 150 to 150 PSI.
Anything else? I'm good. And just since you mentioned hydrants, I see the 2 are repaired,
Yes.
the one by BBT. Yes, okay.
And as a side note, those are 7-foot hydrants, so we had to be down 8 feet. And it's bone dry in those 2 locations,
Oh, really?
so.
Interesting. Okay. I'm sure we'll be addressing that. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, for the work. You guys really, I think, jumped to it. All right, approval of minutes. I see we have, two, is that correct, Sharon? Or is that three? I got it. No, we have three, right? Two on the 13th and one on the 22nd.
Correct.
And if you've gotten, comments from everybody on all three?
I'm not sure I got any comments from you on the second, set on the 13th.
I was okay. I was okay with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Put Rachel's in and Margaret said she was okay as it was, so.
Okay, so we have three, and all three of us were here for all three, so if someone wants to make a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. Department head,
Financial.
oh, I'm sorry, financial update.
Any questions or comments or? It's tracking pretty well from our standpoint. There are no issues that we're seeing right now.
I was okay with it.
Good, all right. I have no questions either. All right, department head reports, I think that's chief I see behind the television, so why don't we start?
Sure.
Why don't we start with DPS?
Not a lot, just been knocking out a lot of inspections in the last couple of weeks. Getting caught up, implementing, the new system, our new software system will be up and running as far as September 1st, so we're pretty excited about that. Been a lot of front end work, to get that, and it's still ongoing for us. But we think it'll be, pretty beneficial as far as our permitting and tracking our inspections and fire calls and that sort of thing. So we're pretty excited about it. Just wrapping up most of the summer vacations, getting people back. The AFG grant, the big grant for the air packs, have started to be dispersed. They're coming out on Fridays. I think only like 3 towns in the state have received money so far. So we get our fingers crossed. Hopefully I'll get a call from one of the senators.
So they're not releasing a list, you're just getting notified town by town?
Town by town. So they're doing it, and they're only doing it every week. So I think Errol, Dover, Nashua were the 3 that got money so far.
Big, medium, and small.
Yeah. We do have a Coffee with a Cop scheduled, going to be on October 5th, which is National Coffee with a Cop Day.
Okay,
We're gonna do that right here in Town Square. If the weather's nice, we'll be outside. If not, we may be inside Town. So we'll schedule that, put that out for everybody. We have our EMT class ready to go. Jeff's been working on that. Right now we have 12 participants in that class, 6 of them being our folks, which is really good to have a number of our EMTs, and several of them are the ones that just graduated from EMT school, plus 3 of our others that were basic EMTs that are looking to become advanced EMTs. So that class will take us all the way through till December, just before Christmas. It'll end. And then other than that, we have some maintenance, going to start our hose testing next month, is after the holiday. Get some nice days and doing that, but other than that, I have nothing else to report to you.
let me just jump down, so, to 7B and new business, so that you can leave if you don't want to hang around. This, the review and accept the 2023 volunteer fire assistance grant funds.
Yeah, so there was a Gopher grant money that was distributed to the state. We got a phone call, said pretty much every town, municipality got $50,000 to spend towards fire EMS.
No, this is the 25, they've accepted. The
Oh, this is the 2,500. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's the wild.
2490.
My bad. So this one, the state said, we understand that we're lacking in wildland firefighter gear. And so they're offering $2,500 towards outfitting our staff with wildland firefighter gear, which is actually needed with a number of new public safety officers out there. I don't think a majority of them have. That's pants, jackets, helmets, goggles, gloves, that sort of thing.
And we haven't done a bulk order
No,
in a long time.
And this is a 50-50 match.
It's a
so-
50.
If I read right, we got stuff 10 years ago.
I think our wildland stuff was actually probably even longer than that.
But I mean, has it ever been used? Is it-
We have on occasion, we live in the asbestos forest, but, we are called into, Campton, Thornton, Plymouth, where we fight, some of the outside fires there.
That's fine.
So,
So the equipment has been used?
yeah,
We have,
Brush fire.
because, I think in general, just because something's available and you have to make a 50-50 match, I don't think we should. I'm not talking about this specifically, but stuff in general,
yeah.
know.
This stuff, it's needed, especially for our newer staff that don't have it. We bought a full set because it was required for Cody, who's in the fire academy. There is a wildland firefighting component to that. And he needed gear for it, so we had to buy it out of our budget to do so. So it just so happened it was
So we're talking about spending $5,000 then in order to get a $2,500 match?
correct.
And how many people does that outfit?
It should outfit about 6 people. And if not, with some extras.
$5,000 outfits only 6 people?
Yeah, a pair of pants are about almost $350 a piece. So jackets
It's
are
almost like bunker gear.
shirts are about $250.
Wow.
And then you throw in helmets, goggles, gloves, that sort of thing. It gets expensive quick when you start. buying one.
So is that something that we do now, or is that something that's under warrant for town meeting?
We're recommending to do it now. As I wrote in the memo, if you allow us to accept the $24.99, we will take the $24.99 out of the operating budget, our match out of the
Right.
operating budget.
So it's really 5,000,
So it'll be a total of $5,000.
not 7,500.
Right.
That's right.
5,000.
Do we have to pay, we pay the whole 5,000 and we get reimbursed the 2,500?
No, we like the $50,000, it's a reimbursement, but they approve it up front. So it isn't like we're spending the money and then submitting something. We're gonna tell them what we're gonna buy beforehand, and they will approve it.
Any further discussion? Do you need a motion on this for
I'd
to
like
spend
to
funds?
accept it, yes.
I'll move we do it.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Aye. Sharon, you can fill in what the it is in the motion. Thank you. All right.
We're certainly getting special treatment on the road.
I'm sorry.
The road coming in with the mowing.
Yes, we are,
I mean, this is the second week at least of the mowing.
but they let it go all summer, so they're
Catching
playing
it.
catch up.
In the summer, yeah.
And it's been a couple
Right.
of years, too, so it's been closing in.
Actually, Chief, I misspoke. I think we need you to hang around for 7F.
Sure.
Later,
Yep.
for later discussion.
Can you go to the solar to Ray?
Yep, we're just going to, okay, yeah,
That's fine.
all right. Linda, let's talk about solar.
Okay, I'm Linda Coleman, I'm speaking today for the Renewable Energy Committee. Thank you for giving me time today. I'll be brief, but I have important points to cover. Since the last update on the April 13th meeting, there's a lot to report. Before I start, I want to thank the Select Board and Mark, especially for your support in allowing the Renewable Energy Committee to move forward with our public-private partnership for promoting electric vehicle charging in Waterville Valley and exploring other ideas in general. With your support, we are able to have more meaningful outcomes, and I think we'll hear that we actually are. And I'd like to give a meeting update after the solar tax deduction topic, if that's okay.
Sure.
I'll try to be quick again. Okay, on to the solar tax deduction. So the Renewable Energy Committee requests the town of Waterville Valley re-adopt under, and I hope I have these numbers right, 7227, section 7262 for a solar tax exemption. This could benefit those residents who install solar panels. So I understand that in 2019, the provisions were adopted which allow Waterville Valley to give a 10-year exemption on half the value fee, making improvements to the property. If the property value is increased by solar, Waterville Valley can now exempt 100% of the new value, and this improvement is a win-win. And I think that the commercial element, Mark said, has already been adopted, is that correct?
Well, there's a couple of things. In 1976, we adopted solar energy exemption under the old RSA. That is $100 exemption for only solar that provides heating or cooling of a property. Okay, so the legislature has now said that towns can readopt the same law and exempt all of solar power facilities that a homeowner would install or a property owner would install. So that includes batteries and solar panels and anything having to do with the solar arrays,
Regardless of what you're
regardless of
charging,
how it's being
what it's
used.
powered.
Yeah, so as an example, we looked at, I went through the property record cards, we found a house that had has solar panels on it right now. The value of that is reflected on the property record cards. So we know what that is across the town, but for this particular house, which has solar power for the entire house, that value, that assessed value is $15,000. So, or $10,000. So under our current tax rate of $15.66, that would equate to $156 of tax exemption.
So this
that
is a
just
feature,
puts it
this is
into-
listed as a
And it's
feature.
on your property
Right.
record cards under features.
Right.
You'll find the solar.
This is, you find things
facilities.
like pools and jetted tubs
Pools
and,
yeah,
and that's all added to your,
fireplaces.
to the
So
value.
how do we monitor that?
It gets reviewed every year as part of the regular assessing duties of our contract assessors.
So if somebody puts solar panels on the roof, somehow we find out about it every year.
Well, there would be a building permit. And so every building permit that is pulled each year gets sent to the assessors after April 1st, and they go through all of them and look at the properties. And that's done every year. And the people would have to apply. This wouldn't be an automatic thing. It would be upon application.
So what's the ratio of the exemption to the amount spent? Is it 100?
It would be 100% of the assessed value of the solar facilities. So if the solar facilities are $10,000, that amount times the tax rate would be the dollar amount of the exemption.
And that assessed value is not necessarily what the homeowner or the property owner spent
No.
to install it.
no, It's what.
This would
the
be assessors would,
have placed as the value.
and based on the initiative of the homeowner to come in,
And fill out
an
application.
application for it, and then we would check.
Yep.
Well, we wouldn't add it if it's new, right? It would not be added as a
Correct.
feature, or if they want to go back to what they have now, they can retrospectively,
Yes,
the exemption.
once the town meeting approves it, then as of April, if the town meeting
Mhm.
in March approves it, as of April 1st, 2023, people can apply
Mhm.
to have the exemption.
So what you're asking for here is for us to move it forward to the planning board for consideration,
Well,
to write the warrant?
no, you can if you want, but the warrant language is
Mhm.
pretty well set by the RSA, so
Okay.
we can develop the warrant unless you want the planning board to go through it. You, as the select board, can place it on the warrant. Because if you send it to the planning board, they're gonna say, okay, and then they're gonna send it back to you.
Right, okay, I understand.
Anyway, so,
There's no cap on it.
no, if they put $100,000 worth of solar on the house, the way I look, or the way that the statute says, it's the assessed value. So that would be eligible for.
There's really no way to determine what the impact will be in terms.
No,
of
it'll vary
revenue.
every year.
Right, depending
Because
on who
as
applies and
the-
how much.
As the tax rate changes,
And it's
the
all-
amount changes.
And it's all based on solar panels.
It's actually a solar system is the definition, so that includes, I think there's a definition in here somewhere. I didn't highlight
So we're
it.
basically
I'm
gonna be piggyback
Yes.
off the RSA.
So it is one or more collectors and, oh, wait a minute, sorry.
The very first section, article.
All photovoltaics, inverters and storage, so batteries. The charging system for the batteries and the panels themselves are included in this section.
Right. It's right there at the top.
It's in
Section
paragraph
2.
2 of 72,
Paragraph.
61.
Right.
All right, any discussion?
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Okay, what would you like from us?
A motion just to include it on the warrant and we'll start developing the language if you're okay with it.
I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Thank you very much. I'm gonna keep going, this one will be quicker. This is the electric vehicle charging.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you very much, I really appreciate it, it'll make a big difference to people in town and will show the support of the select board for clean energy, is really important. So anyhow, electric vehicles, we all know that town of Waterville Valley proper doesn't have that, the land to install EV chargers, even though there's great demand. So the task lands on the private entities in town, so with the town commission, the renewable energy committee has embarked on that public-private partnership to facilitate EV charger installation. At the last select board meeting on April 13th, some incentives were suggested. I'm just going to bring them up again. Adding EV charging stations to all zoning districts as allowed in accessory use, providing incentives for developers to provide electrical infrastructure for chargers, updating ordinances to clarify that spaces for charging stations count towards minimum parking requirements. We went past that. So on June 15th, the Renewable Energy Committee started working on an EV charger RFP. On June 16th, we set up a site visit with the Waterville Valley Resort and New Hampshire Electric Co-op. Subsequently, the Waterville Valley Resort has been independent in its efforts, so they're not really, they're kind of doing their own thing. So I don't have a report on them. On the 20th of June, an email was sent to 12 lodge and association board members to solicit interest in electric vehicle charging stations at their site. And word spread fast and it grew. On July 15th, the RFP was finished and we sent it to 10 EV charger hardware software companies with a due date of August 12th. And this was all with Mark's help. 5 were followed up with phone calls, 2 returns were received from Link and EV Connect. The EVs in Waterville groups, is what I call our lodging association group, grew to 20 people and 17 associations and lodging. So there's a lot of interest. I reached out individually to some businesses in town to include them, the ones that have land, the White Mountain Athletic Club, the Golf Club, Torrey, yes, and none of them are really interested at this time. Just so you know, we are trying to include anyone and everyone in town that could participate. So on August 16th, Link and New Hampshire Electric were in Waterville Valley for a site visit. You'll see a picture and mention of it in the wigwag. Representatives from both Link and New Hampshire Electric did 4 site visits at village condos, Waterville Place, Summit View, and Golden Eagle to look at placement and feasibility of chargers and answer questions. And generally, people were really happy with it, and some places may be ready to move forward. Yesterday, we had a group Zoom meeting, which was held to review and share information, and it was attended by 13 people from 8 associations and lodges. And we're looking forward on September 1st that the Renewable Energy Committee will review the RFP responses from Lincoln EV Connect and decide how to move forward. After that, we will continue to work with associations and lodging to help them meet the needs of EV charger installation, be providing resources, information, contacts, and facilitating group pricing. And that's one of the big things, the EV vendors said, you get 5 people, 5 associations together, we'll give you a group discount, which is really partnership with the RFP, putting the clout of the town in it. So again, I want to thank you for that. One of those free things that we did that, works out. So before I conclude, I have another ask. I'd like to request that the town of Waterville Valley consider waiving the building permit fee for electric vehicle charging stations. Do you think that's possible?
Why?
To help these associations and lodging facilities pay for it. It's expensive. And $50, which is the cost of the permit fee, it doesn't sound like a lot of money, but to an association, it is when we're trying to facilitate their ability to install them. So it's just another easy thing we could do to make it easy for these people so they can install electric vehicle charging because there's no room on a town of Waterville municipality itself land.
So what is the cost to an association roughly?
It depends. We're telling them $15,000. It could be, but it's between 3 and 15, depending on what they decide. Every association is different. Some associations can just install the upper, like the dryer plug to plug in, like High Spring. That's what they've done. Other ones, like we did at Windsor Hill, we had to have, a meter and conduit run and,
What I saw from the literature that I reviewed on this is that it looked like it was around 12 plus installation, right?
It really just depends what vendor they go with. Like there's a hybrid model where the software and the hardware is for free and you pay an annual fee and you split electricity. Some people may decide they want just to spend $3,000 on it and not have a network. Trust me when I tell you, every association and lodge is different with their needs. So it's just would be goodwill for part of that public-private partnership where the town acknowledges we're going to do everything we can to help you because we know as a town we need this. I think in terms of look at you do it $50. How many associations do you think would really install it? 10 at the most. I'd be jumping for joy if it were 10. So at most it would be $500 in permit fees. Really, I don't think it would negatively affect the town budget.
Dave, wouldn't it be based on how much it was going to cost? Not a strict $50.
It's based on the project fees up to,
So if somebody was putting a $15,000 system in, it'd be different than a $3,000 system.
yes, there is a minimum and then there are thresholds where that jumps up and I don't recall off the top of my head where that jumps up to.
So 5 per 1,000 up to 50,000.
50,000, okay. That's
$5
Oh,
per thousand
Yeah.
of estimated cost.
They'll all be under 50.
Oh, really?
On the 50. This is something we can explore further and see exactly what it.
No decision now.
Right.
Please. Thank you.
And I just want to bring, while Linda's here, I want to bring up one more thing. Next Wednesday, there'll be a consultant coming here to walk the town property,
Mhm.
the complex where town hall and the treatment plant are, to look at possible sites for a test wind turbine. It's not a full-size turbine like is up in Plymouth or whatever that you can see from Plymouth. But this is, we need some data about wind activity here in the valley. So they're looking for a 6 to 8 month test period to put up a smaller turbine and get some data. I do not know where this would be or how big it is. I don't know what it looks like yet. But until he walks around and sees if there is a set place, he can't do a proposal for us. So after that meeting next Wednesday, I'll have more information and we'll share it with you at the next meeting.
I think on the, thank you. I think on the EV stations, since the Renewable Energy Committee, works for the select board, I think what you're hearing from us is that, sure, I mean, put something together and we're open to not charging the building permit fee. But we need to see what it would actually look like, what the numbers would be. So if you could work with the town and then present it to the board, then we can actually have something in front of us to discuss and vote on. Great. John, did you have anything you were here for all this solar EV?
I just would like to ask one question, not about the EVs, but and it might be already spoken on, but we have an update on chain fence that's supposed to go around the trash bins. Dumpsters.
That's later in the agenda.
Yeah, we have an update coming up on that
That's on the agenda.
today. Yeah, just give us a bit of time. All righty. Anything else, Linda?
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so let's go ahead and return to department head reports. Go ahead, Brooke.
We closed out camp with our highest numbers to date, so that was wonderful. We retained a couple of our staff for after school program, which is one of the first times we've done that. We're really excited. 2 students from PSU who will be helping with our programs, making it possible for us to do several, but it will go to weekends only after Labor Day and all the way until Columbus Day. We have our after school programs, which we're starting on September 6th. They're offering several different programs. Our regular K-5 program, we're extending that from K-3 to K-5 because there were some interested older kids. We'll see if that materializes, but that was the feedback we got. A mountain biking club, a hiking club, a digital art club, Dungeons and Dragons club, and some Friday specials. So we have tons to offer the school, and we're hoping that lots of kids sign up
Talking 2:45 to 4:30
to 5 o'clock.
to 5.
Yeah,
Okay.
some of them are 4:30, some are 4:45, some are 5. But
Okay.
Brooke, did we get feedback about space between when camp finishes and school?
yes, we did. So at the school board meeting last week, they discussed kind of where we left off here with the school board, and it was decided that they would pick up this week. So they were gonna offer childcare this week, because there was really only 1 week that wasn't spoken for, which I forgot to bring up to them, because they were talking about 2 weeks, but we offered care last week and we're already been full. So this is the only week that we're not offering care, so they were going to, but I don't think anyone took advantage of it, and I don't know, how that got communicated with this, kids.
Okay,
But in terms of the end of the school year, they decided that they couldn't do it, it wasn't staffing.
Yeah.
We can't do it, we don't have staffing yet. So we did have an agreement of how to move forward. And am I missing anything? Those are the only 2 times, right?
Well, there are 4 periods, but yeah, it's that one period that no one could really handle very well, which is after school ends and before our
camps.
camps start up.
Camp training.
Right.
Their teachers are.
Right, because there's a period at the beginning where it's before school and before and our after school programs end.
Yeah,
So, but I think they said they were able to cover
yeah, I think it all got worked out.
it all except for that one period of the 4, which is when we're not ready and their school year is over.
Yeah, and I do think that this is, a pretty amazing offering to the community to cover all of that time between the school and the rec department. So I think we're doing a great job.
And I think they were going to look at that one period,
At the end of the school year.
at the end of the school year, but before our programs begin, to see if they can get any interested private party to help out.
Right. So we have Labor Day coming up. We have a Chalk Fest And it will include inflatables, and this is all going to happen in the school parking lot. So we worked with the siding people, so they're gonna be moving from right now, if you've seen, they're over at the school entrance and they closed down the parking lot completely. The school board decided that that can't happen during school drop off. So they are going to move everything over between the Ray Center and the rec department entrance, so they're gonna start working on the rec department entrance, but we have decided that we would have access to the parking lot for the chalk fest and inflatables, and that people still will be able to come in and out of our entrance over Labor Day weekend, because we have lots planned. So,
Mhm.
Are they gonna finish the school portion of the building before the kids come?
yeah, that's the plan. I think what happened is they had 3 pallets of siding that they rejected, and now they have to wait. That's the holdup, is they have to wait a couple, maybe a couple of weeks to a month to get
Something like
that back.
yeah.
So that's one of the reasons that's being held up. But overall, you know, it's looking pretty good. We have movie and fireworks on Sunday, the 4th. And then we have ice cream social and lots of gym activities, so there'll be lots going on at the rec. We're planning right now for the fall foliage race, getting sponsors for that. We are bringing back the 10-mile trail race. We do have a community member who's volunteered their time, 2 community members who have volunteered their time to help us develop that further. And this Saturday, we have a someone coming, like an elite runner coming to challenge the fastest known time on the Skyline Loop. So that he leaves at 6 a.m. from the Tecumseh Trailhead up at the resort. And he has to beat, I think, 9 hours, 13 minutes and something like that. So it's pretty incredible that
Yeah.
people are doing that in that amount of time.
Hope he leaves his info with DPS.
Well, there's gonna be, I mean, there's gonna be some media involved, you know, not like a ton, but they're trying, you know, because it's a significant runner, you know, they're trying to build it up a little bit. And on that note, we're gaining a lot of traction with our Skyline Loop within these circles of endurance runners and hikers, and it's really great because we've done what we can with marketing, but it's kind of taken on its own. There was just an article released today from EMS, all of in detail about the Skyline Loop, and then which gear to buy, for what reasons, and it was really great because it talked a lot about, you know, it's a great community or a great loop because at about the halfway point, it comes close to town, so you can either stay in the lodging or stay, or, you know, campground, so we kind of hit on all the things without anyone telling them. It was picked up on its own, nobody pushed that, so it tells me that it's making the round, it's good. And then I wanted to talk to you about my recommendation for pickleball. Were you able to read that?
Item,
I didn't see it on the thing.
Yeah, we got a copy of your email.
within department.
Oh, so it's okay,
So you wanna lower the prices,
I
maybe?
do. You know, it's mainly because it's to be more in line with the municipalities that offer pickleball. By making this change, I think it will be a benefit to taxpayers because it will continue to bring local people into our program and purchasing the membership and playing here. And then lastly, it's really a lot of pressure on us to make that a priority, because if you're going to be selling it at that rate, you really need to make sure they're getting pickleball 4 or 5 days a week at a minimum. And with summer camps and school stuff, you know, I can't always prioritize pickleball over that stuff because of the space. So I think overall, it's a better decision. And I think we can still make the revenue that I outlined this year.
I'm good with the changes.
Do they pay all at once for a year?
Yes,
Okay, and we do not have a monthly.
no, we do not. No, so the drop-in fee is what people usually do. If they're just here for a few days, they usually just pay the drop-in fee at $10. These are different visitors though than what I'm really talking about before being. So I think most people are going to just sign on to that 125.
And do they have to, you mentioned regular membership. Do they have to be a regular member in order to again
No.
pay the pickle?
So
No.
it will be, so the regular membership will not include competitive pickleball. It will include the ladies' social play and also our novice beginner pickleball. But it won't include the competitive. So the competitive folks will get all the membership benefits plus the competitive play at 125.
We can make that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of like
September
if,
1 with-
if you think this is what works, I stumbled over 125 a year because it's difficult to divide by 12, but since you're not doing.
Oh, yeah, no.
it-
People just pay, right? you know,
Yeah,
it's
since
like-
you're not doing a monthly, yeah.
Yep,
So the
What did we
effective
used
date,
to charge per year?
when we first
Before we
launched
did this?
$30
$30.
that was
yeah.
the 2 iterations ago,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And then we bumped it up,
to 60, which,
right?
and then, yeah, so I do think this is a better choice for all parties involved.
Okay,
And so you want to start it with the advent of
September 1.
pickleball season, so to speak.
It's an easy change on my end.
and what about the people that have already paid more than this one?
Well, there's
September
really
1
only a
rolls.
few, and they're not kind of in the loop, so I don't think they're gonna. I
We'll
mean,
deal with them on a case. by
Oh,
case
yeah,
basis.
we could,
Right.
but again, these are not our taxpayers and property owners, these are visitors.
Yeah, but I would want to make sure that they were treated equitably. You know, whether it's, okay, my yearly membership is up on October 1st. And you'd have some kind of deal where you cover them through the end of the year, or,
Well, I think
you
the
know,
only
at a
thing.
prorated basis, or.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the only ones that would apply to are the ones who bought the 6-month membership for 150. So what I can do is just extend that to a year and call it a day. And then the people that didn't want to sign up for the big $300 a year, they're not due until February anyway. So no one is going
No
to
one's gonna.
lose out on this.
Okay,
Well, we'll leave it to them to decide.
well, yeah.
And I
As
agree.
soon as the new
Right.
rates come out, somebody is gonna come
Right.
back and say, but I paid 300 for a year and now you're.
But they
only
didn't.
Yeah, and I agree with your sentiment, you
Yeah.
know, just as,
Yeah.
so it's equitable and prorated as
Yeah.
necessary. Good.
So do we have a motion to make that effective September 1st, 2025 a year?
So moved.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Anything else, Brooke?
No, I have nothing else. If you have no other questions.
All right, Steve, what's happening on the admin side?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring you all up to speed with our efforts to improve our cybersecurity infrastructure here at Town Hall and the wastewater treatment plant. We had an initial assessment occur on July 12th and received the results of the assessment just on Monday, the 22nd of August. In between that period, we've made some pretty significant strides to improve our current cybersecurity infrastructure by enabling multi-factor authentication within Microsoft Outlook, which is basically just that secondary layer of security. You get pinged on your cell phone when we're logging into our Microsoft accounts. Sorry, Mark. You know.
Such a pain.
But they text you a code that you have
They
to,
text you a code.
that you have
It's
to
good
put
for
in,
90
right?
It's good for 90 days, so.
Oh, okay, no, it's usually
It's just
like
the
5
first time I
minutes.
tried it, maybe for some reason my phone number was wrong and couldn't get text. It was just. I get.
In addition to the multi-factor authentication, we also have established some new rules within our administrative rights. Making sure that no one who works for the town and has an account with the town has full access. Everyone is now restricted, so if they wanted to download any kind of software, you need to go through our managed services provider to do that. I'm sorry about. And with that, we've established a rule that any new hire that starts for the town starts with the least amount of permissions possible. So that as they grow into their role and they learn that they might need new permissions, we can reevaluate at that point. With the cybersecurity folks at the Department of Homeland Security, our next steps with them is they're going to be providing us with some vulnerability testing, penetration testing, and phishing testing at no cost to the town. This is something that they provide through this program, and also the .gov transition will happen at some point this year. And the biggest thing that I'm most excited about is that we have an application started for a $250,000 grants that will allow us to do other things within our cybersecurity infrastructure that we need to do. So that it will be completed by the end of the year and submitted, so hopefully we'll see those funds come in next year.
Do we know the history of New Hampshire towns and cities being attacked cyber-wise?
When I attended the conference for Primex back in May, there were currently 12 active cybersecurity events within the state. Meaning that they didn't go into specifics, but they said the events ranged from ransomware, where they lock up the whole town and say, pay me $1 million and we'll grant you access back in, to just nefarious kind of things where they just wipe
It's malicious,
drives
just
and-
being malicious.
yeah. So it's real.
They've altered controls that water and waste.
That would be the big-
treatment
In New Hampshire?
in New Hampshire. And there was a town that lost more than $1 million in a
Mhm.
phishing scheme. So they are real attacks, and we get phishing expeditions. I wouldn't say daily, but a couple of times a month at least.
And we're in the process, inevitably, we're moving everything to the cloud, right?
That is our goal for the 2023 budget.
Right.
Yep.
So. We're gonna be out there.
In addition
Anything
to
else?
that,
Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
we have an RFP out for financial auditing services. I think collectively, Judy, Mark, and I were less than satisfied with how the timeliness in which the audit occurred this year and in which we received our final audit. So we're entertaining some bids.
And this is the second year with the auditors that it has not gone well. So
Right.
it's time.
And somebody bought out the previous guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we gave them 2 years, and this year has been just as bad as the first year. So,
And then finally, I have shared with Brooke a quote for the 2023, maybe 2022 porta potty. Where we have been.
That's 2022.
pleased with United Site
Right.
Services.
Right.
So I reached out to someone a little more local out of Ashland, Todd Randallette Septic Systems. And he's pretty sure that he'd be able to provide us with a good program next year.
we had several during the tennis event.
Mhm.
It was pretty bad, so we're trying to make an immediate change through Columbus Day weekend.
Yeah.
And then we'll put it out.
Which was our end date, right?
Columbus Day
which
was our
our-
day. Yeah.
Ten-
So we'll try to get that fixed before Labor Day.
And then the same company, if it works, just
Either do that or put it out
bid again.
to bid again, but.
Well, we probably need
if
to
it
look at the
works,
whole
we'll
thing too.
evaluate it.
Yeah, we need to
during the next
evaluate
2
to what extent the porta potties actually provided a service,
Right.
and then we can just,
And
Okay.
having them right in Ashland on my way home will be convenient too.
yeah.
If they were.
He can pick up the porta
Yeah,
potty.
pick up porta potty.
Get a trailer.
Right.
Yeah.
But we didn't have any difficulties with the ones off of Packard, right?
It's the same company.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
we
they
didn't
maybe
really
she
have
use
any
frequency of use.
last year, but we were replenishing the toilet paper, but they never really got terribly messy.
Right,
But I kind of doubt they were cleaning them 2 times a week,
Which was the contract.
We paid for.
right.
But it's just been very clear this year,
For the ones out by the,
more so for the tennis center.
At-
Just
at the
that they could
BBTF,
use
right.
more.
They're
They could
used
get
more.
right, so that, whereas we don't see the same
Yeah,
thing.
right.
Steve,
right.
Steve was able to get United to change their invoices because they did not provide.
So we're not paying,
service.
right?
So we are not.
All right. Yeah, we'll have to relook at the whole porta potty issue. This was always meant to be
Tom Gross called me after the tennis event and
Okay.
he wants to come in and talk to the board.
okay, on the
So he'll
14th,
be on
sure,
the agenda.
okay. Anything
Yeah,
else?
Maybe as a segue into something else, but I just wanted to let the board know that collectively, department heads, myself and Mark have met about evaluating our revenues for this year, and you'll see more what that looks like.
We've
in a little bit.
got the modifications on the 434.
Okay. All right. Jim, anything?
Well, we already discussed the most exciting. thing.
Mhm,
I was
Mhm.
Other than that, we replaced a little bit of guardrail along Valley Road, right near Waterville Place. We got that completed, and we are now working on some of the corners, like Packard's and Valley Road, and Snow's Brook, if you will, and Village Road, and Boulder Path, especially if those, you know, you've probably seen that cone there.
I know it well.
Hey, whoever put the bench back on the lookout past the cemetery,
Mhm.
good job, whoever did that. I assume you guys. I assume you guys did that.
Moving on from that, Bob. Let's move on from that.
Nope, town didn't do that.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Yeah, so, but anyways, other than that, other than the excitement yesterday, with the water main, not much else.
Well, the water, Bernice is not here this week, so.
Right. Well, as far as the water river
Yeah.
project, the crossing, we can talk about that now if you want.
Yeah,
If you would like, okay, Bernice is not on site this week, that was a planned shutdown. As I mentioned earlier, all of the associated valving and fittings and with the 8-inch pipe is installed, ready to be tested.
Who were the people that were out there today?
they were fixing the telephone.
Yep, the telephone line was not marked by Big Sig, and when we did the road crossing,
Was that the one that was,
it was in the way.
From the first road cross.
Right.
First.
So-
road
Right.
cross.
So Consolidated was there yesterday, and I talked with them, and the contractor was there, and we discussed, and I told him that we would have to be making another road crossing with electrical conduit on top of the water main. And so they decided that they would schedule 80 pipe in, and so that this would not happen again. It's a direct buried line, and it was not and was not marked.
so it wasn't any of our,
There you go.
So that's what was going on there.
And I guess that's a good thing to highlight, Jim, is the fact that we will be digging in West Branch Road again.
Yeah.
Because the electrical conduit has to be put in that trench. So we're gonna open that again.
okay, got the line in, but you
There
can
will
run
be,
the conduit.
right, the lines in.
Right.
But we do need to open it again, so we will probably have the same
Mhm.
traffic. Blocking and have people go around.
That will go much quicker because it's a shallow, much more shallow excavation. And
Probably a day.
and it's already been done, so we know where everything is, so they shouldn't have any problems. To date, they've got about 420 feet of 6-inch in with another 250 to go into the treatment building. And then that will complete the yeah, we've got the blow off hydrant in. And all they're gonna do is a couple of connections here and there and get the 6-inch into the well building, and then it'll be all the inside work inside the treatment
Gotcha.
building and pump house too. So it's going fairly well.
When are they gonna start their road culvert?
We have not seen a construction schedule from Piper as of yet.
I just got an email during the meeting from Josh McAllister. I will check and let you know by email.
Okay.
Otherwise, there's nothing new on the road
Otherwise, there's
project.
nothing new on the road
No,
project,
they had indicated September, October,
but we don't know, we don't have a schedule.
that's correct. And, that's about it, you know, they'll have a lot of cleanup to do, obviously, for the water project. So, and we should.
A little bit of road repair.
A little bit.
Do you want to talk about the transfer station?
Well, I was gonna say, I was gonna ask first, how's the truck?
No, don't talk about the truck. The
Don't
truck's
talk about
fine. We don't want to jinx ourselves. It's fine.
Talk about the pickup truck.
Oh, the pickup
Yeah.
truck, okay.
That's great. Watch it go out and won't snow.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, yeah, sure. Let's talk about the transfer station issue.
Yeah, I think Mark and, well, both Mark and I met with, Mark Sanborn, who's the assistant commissioner, and, Mike Limsat, who is the head of solid waste at DES. We met, last
Friday.
And, it was a very, very, very good meeting. And, they seem to, understand quite a few things. I think you saw the letter that Mark's got going, discussing the EPA issue, but with a Nifty's permit. But also, we are going to be looking at an AOC situation where they will allow us to continue to operate as we are, provided that we meet certain parameters during the design phase of the new transfer station, and we construct it
Right.
in timely manner. They're very pleased to know that it was, funds were in place for that, so that made the process much easier. And,
They finally saw reason.
and they-
Let's cut to the chase.
It was a
Right.
very good meeting. for both
Okay.
sides.
Good job.
Right.
Just for the public, and the
Yeah.
AOC is an administrative order by consent. And what'll happen is they are gonna draft a letter that tells us what we have to do and lays out a schedule to do it. It is not.
For the
it
interim
is
transfer station.
For the interim transfer
Transfer station.
station
Right, off to Clemson.
up to Cumson.
Right.
And as long as we meet the time requirements, there are no negative impacts on the town. So they're not making us build the temporary.
Right.
Station.
And we'll have to,
Stay to where we are until
Yeah.
next fall.
Stay where we are.
and they're giving us till what, just the end of the year?
Well, that's.
potentially,
we gotta
we're still
see-
waiting.
We gotta see what. the
End of
letter
next
says,
year,
but it could
right.
be between October and December of next year.
Yeah,
So it'll be enough time to allow us to do the design and get it built.
Good job.
yeah,
And just as a matter of note, too, Hoyle Tanner was very, very, helpful in, both of these topics.
Yeah. Having Joe on the call is very beneficial.
good.
You know, just.
Anything else, Jim?
That's about it.
All righty. Dylan?
Operations are running smoothly. The lagoons are 100% nitrifying right now, so.
7 days to go?
Yeah, luckily, it was before, I mean, this was mid last week that it actually was 100%, so we're not using any chlorine right now. Under the
Great.
coordination. Luckily, we only had to do use around 2,500 gallons, typically we use over 10,000 gallons of chlorine in this time frame. So it was reduced greatly. And, you know, we used some, but not nearly what we would have used in the past.
And I just wanna commend Rich and Dylan for coming up with the program that we started, when was it, in the spring, right?
Yeah.
With adding, I call it the magnesium, milk of magnesia.
Yeah,
So by doing that,
Right.
the cost of those chemicals are much less than what we would have spent on chlorine. So we'll get the numbers together for you, but
Yeah.
it saved us a lot of money.
Okay. That's great.
And it was a
Great.
lot safer for the staff.
That's what I was
because-
going to say, is that it also protected the facility. You know, we don't have a whole lot of years left, but we want to try to not have yet so much of a corrosive environment as it usually is.
Yeah.
The last selectmen's meeting I missed due to 2 equipment failures that occurred at the facility. Both of them are resolved. One of them was a blower failure. All 3 of you have been to the Whitefield facility. That's what was used for aeration. Our aeration system from 1998 has never had any. I mean, it's been maintained, but it hasn't had any upgrades or anything like that. Not sure what went wrong in the blower itself. The motor was fine, but the actual blower could have been a bearing. So we had a backup. We had 3. One of the motors on the blower that we pulled out and put on the new motor is still good, so that was no cost. The other failure was something that was much more important. Our filtered water pump, the wiring is an underground conduit. All that was broken. So we had no power to it, and we brought in our control company, the instrument, and they were able to run new wiring out of our VFD directly to the motor to get the pump to operate. So both luckily were nothing super major, but the filter water pump going down was a big issue, and then we could figure out what was wrong with it. But all in all, everything's been running smoothly aside from those 2 things.
Why don't we just go ahead and roll into the new treatment plant project
Yeah,
review?
we're,
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I don't have much of an update for you. I believe Joe is supposed to have a presentation for the next selectmen's meeting regarding different parcels of land. Is that correct?
yes, we have the discussion. at the
Later,
next
right.
meeting,
Right.
regarding-
On the 7th,
Yeah.
right?
So we're working on that. We also are setting up a meeting with Forest Service to discuss the sewer line issue.
Going
So
up
we're
to
gonna-
the-
Going up to
to the
the resort. So we'll hopefully have something to report on the 14th for you on that as well.
And we're still looking at a date for the 60% project.
We are still on
Late
track
September.
for late September,
Late September.
first week of October. Yep. So that is still tracking.
Decision time.
Anything else that's happened?
So
Well,
Just to add-
we do have designs which we hope to have in hand by next week for the new transfer station. An actual engineering layout.
Okay.
So that'll be our first look at that. So hopefully we'll have that for you to see.
On the treatment plan too, Dylan and I had a conversation with Oil Tanner's PR department, or the director of their PR. And they brought to us, some examples of what we can be doing soon to start communicating out to the residents, the progress and status of the project.
Is that what we're talking about, that Sunday?
And Dylan and I are planning to have a table at the Get to Know Waterville Valley event here. We'll have handouts and
That's-
storyboards to start putting information out.
Is it premature? I mean, we don't know what we're doing yet.
We won't be talking about that. We'll be talking about the permit, why we're doing the plant, why we can't use the existing
Existing, okay.
plant, those sorts of things.
Yes.
Um,
And you can roll in while we're moving a transfer station.
Correct.
Start getting
So
that
we'll
word
have
out.
that, we'll have that basic schematic pictures so that we can explain about moving the transfer station.
Anything else?
At the last meeting, we talked about notifying the public about voluntarily restricting water usage.
Yeah, we talked
Yes.
about whether or not, we said we would revisit it every meeting, and so.
Go ahead.
So I wasn't here the last selectmen's meeting. I did watch it after the fact, but
Yeah.
what I would. One thing to keep in mind is it's not about trying to fix an issue that we have currently. It's about trying to prevent a future issue with water conservation. That's really what it's all about. It's not, so all of these towns that are around that have water bans, it's not as if their wells are really depleted. It's that they're trying to prevent that from happening. That's the real issue, a real reason for implementing a water ban. So that way we don't have all of our wells get depleted, 2 wells that we have online right now. Then that causes an issue where we may not necessarily be able to meet demand for town residents if it became that much of an issue.
And really the weather, so the impact of the current weather that we've had is it had any?
The well has for a small percentage. It's not anything drastic. The well has gone down, but the static level of the well without it running has gone down. Not like it was in 2020, that summer of 2020 where we had a severe drought, but it has gone down. So.
But nothing none of the weather that we've had over the past couple of weeks has materially helped.
No, it hasn't changed.
Right. I noticed that the little stream that goes in front of the cemetery, I've never seen it totally dry before, and it is now.
Yeah.
Where I think where we landed last time was not to institute any of our levels. Water restriction, but at this point, but to review it every 2 weeks, but we did ask for, as Margaret,
Voluntary.
said, voluntary,
Yeah, no, we have not, Bob, put anything on the website or anything yet. But I think, given the fact that it's been cloudy and
Mhm.
kind of gives the impression that we've been receiving a lot of rain lately.
Mhm.
I think we need to, we'll put something on the website to just update folks on it.
And to maintain the
And to maintain the request for
voluntary in line, I think with the first level in
reduction.
terms of times of when you
Yeah.
do it. Okay. Anything else? Other questions? All right, so why don't we move back to, that's all the department head reports. Okay, let's get calendar review out of the way. So we'll have a special select board.
We have
Yes,
one thing,
Yep.
Rich, can we go to 8A?
8A. Oh, yeah.
That Brooke can leave.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I thought Mike was going to come. I think he said at the school
I think,
board meeting, he
yeah.
was planning to come, but we can still, yeah, I'm just waiting, but
So the agreement that I included in the packet was what was reviewed at the school board meeting.
mhm,
And the school board's action was that they accepted it pending approval by the select. So
Right, I sent the revisions to the principal and to Pam Martin, and they were supposed to send them to the school board. I'm not sure, did you hear from the
they
school
did,
board?
and
Right.
they were okay
Yep.
with the revisions that were made at the school board meeting.
Yep.
And they said, if you accept what is written here, they will sign it as well.
okay.
So you good with it?
Yep, and Rich was there too, we were both good with it, yeah.
Okay.
All right, and
It was a
circulate it, and
positive
sign it.
meeting.
Good. Yeah, let's go ahead and,
Can I have a hard copy of it somewhere here? So can we get just a motion to approve it?
sure, why don't you just throw the paperwork in front of, seconds, I can look it up. Motion to get the language correct here.
There it is.
Oh, thank you. So I'll make a motion to accept the building use agreement between the town of Waterville Valley and the town of Waterville Valley School District. This is the draft of 29 August 2022 as it's listed in here. There are no other dates associated with it. So do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Then you can.
Just
sign that
notice.
page.
It's a 2-year agreement.
2-year agreement.
Yes.
And I just have one other comment about that is, if you recall, we started this whole.
Should I sign it or should I wait for your
No,
comment?
you can sign it, but if you recall, our process started in May, and right now it's
Right.
August. So in order for us to get this done, like re-looked at every August, sign it in August before school starts, I recommend that we start looking at it in May.
So
And talking to the school board about that for the summer.
That's right. That's right. We actually discussed this at the school board meeting too.
Yeah, because it took some time,
Yeah.
because of, you know,
I think it was just scheduling. It wasn't that there was any real heartburn over everything. It was just trying to get all the people
yeah.
involved.
it-
There was a little bit
it's probably gonna happen
at the
every summer,
beginning.
Right?
Right. Well, this is good for 2 years, but we'll move it up to the spring.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we discussed it and I think the school board was fine with that as well.
Mhm.
Okay. You were on the left side. Okay,
And Brooke, you're okay with all of the revenue changes?
Yeah,
that
I
are-
wondered if you needed me for any of that.
We probably should,
All right.
in case you have a question about revenues.
all right, shall we go now to, you want to do the revenue projection changes, so then Brooke can leave? I just want to go through a quick calendar review. All
I do have to go in 4 minutes, so.
right, well, let's go, well, that answers that question. Let's go to seven, C, review and approve MS 434 revenue projection changes.
Bob,
Anybody
you
have
haven't
any?
been through this process yet, so we review, department heads review our current revenues. We get to adjust them with DRA from what we projected at town meeting to new numbers. So you have what we have collected year to date in the first column. Our budget is what we put in the town report and reported to town meeting. And then the third column is what we're recommending to change those numbers to right now.
Recreation mark starts at 3406, which is about 3/4 of the way down on page
Yep.
1.
Yep.
And you'll notice that last figure in blue, 138,355 was adjusted from 120,093.
Well, from 126,975, so it's an $11,380 increase in her overall
Revenue.
for the recreation department, and then
Right.
parks actually got adjusted down $1,573. The net effect of all of the departments
Right,
is the increase of 71,820
820, right,
over what we reported to town meeting.
good,
So this is in order to set the tax rate?
Yes.
Yeah. okay,
So tax rate setting wise, this is about a 20-cent difference in the tax rate approximately.
good.
But any questions on the rec or the parks
No.
side of it? Thanks.
No, I think we're good.
Thank you.
All right,
Any other questions, departmental questions about the changes? If you're okay with those, if I could get a motion to approve these revised revenues, and then here's the MS 430, and then authorize us to submit the MS 434, that I would be great.
so I will make a motion to approve the MS 434 revised estimate revenues as presented to us in our packet today. Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Send it on.
One line just to highlight too, is in recognition, the ambulance line, is 340121 ambulance usage fees. Where we
Mhm.
adjusted our revenues there by $22,000 per year, and I think that's in part of our efforts and strategic thinking on Dave's behalf of to move some of those uncollected ambulance fees into a collections process that has provided us with,
Speeded it up.
Yes.
small revenues.
The caution there, though, is we've been catching up, right, Dave? And so now we may not be able to budget quite as much revenue in that line because
Mhm.
we have been catching up over the years. So there could be a change in that line item during the 23 budget. But again, it's tens of thousands, so we're talking about revenues of $1 million, what? 2 million, something like that. 2,949,000, so.
Yeah, okay, well, while we're on money, let's do the MS 535.
Yeah.
This is the final,
this
based on the
is-
audit
Yes.
for 2020.
Again, Bob, probably your first time through this, 535 is a financial report that we have to submit to DRA. It's a restatement of our annual audit on their form. So all of the numbers tie back to the annual audit, but you have to review and approve and sign this. every
So
year.
even though it says 2022, it's really for calendar year two thousand.
It's December 31, 21.
Okay. And would like to make a motion?
So moved.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Okay, I need some signatures.
Yeah.
What is,
Oh,
yes, might as well be first.
let's see. You want to just go ahead through the calendar review while I'm doing this?
Yep,
Move that along.
pretty straightforward. I am requesting for a special select board meeting to meet with Tyrell Corporation regarding the land on September 7th. I don't have a time yet, but they are available in the afternoon. I just need to get some information from Joe Duchan to provide to you before I
Right,
set the exact times.
Yeah.
But are you all available on the 7th in the afternoon?
Yeah, I can, yeah, I can be available.
Okay.
this is one of those periods, we have a 3-week hiatus anyway between
Yes.
meetings, right? So this would be 2 weeks from today.
Mhm. That's correct.
All right. That's a special select board. Then we have our
And then the
regular
is September
14.
14th.
at 3 PM and the planning board is September 8th.
So this is one of 2 months during the year where the planning board will happen before your
Right,
next meeting.
okay,
The election.
And the election.
That's right. that's right. That will be before our next regular, our next regular meeting. Right. So we should probably talk about,
So Steve, I wanted to just consider setting your time.
Yep.
If you wanted to do it now, we would certainly wait until your special meeting on the 7th.
11 to 7, right, for the polling hours?
and this is one of the ones we have to have 2, right?
You should, yes,
All right.
you are required to have a majority of the board
All right.
there. Yes.
Well, as usual, I don't mind doing the full 11 to 7. If then you guys want to divvy up the other 8 hours between you.
Yeah, it's not really 8, as we know. So
Right.
I will do the second half
Give or take.
and be there for
Right.
signing the box. and all that kind
So
of
I'll
thing.
do 11 till 3 or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. All right. Sounds like we have that. Anything else we need to decide now?
Nope.
As far as it's just moving ahead in the conference center at this point.
And for the general public, we do have absentee ballots available.
Right.
If anyone's not going to be here on the 13th.
So do we have to be there much before 11?
No. No.
No, the moderator and the
Right.
ballot clerks and all that will be setting up, but if you guys are there by quarter of or something.
Yeah. All right. And I assume the moderator is taking care of all of it. And the
Yeah,
town
well,
clerk
if
or
there are any issues that come
Right.
up between now and then, we can talk about them on the 7th.
I'm a second. Very good. Okey doke.
Mhm.
So let's go ahead and move to the housing opportunity planning. Grant pre-application.
Yep, that.
This just
was
starts the
an
process, right?
informational, item, just so you know, we're in the process. This is not to assist us with housing in any way. It is to help us and the planning board primarily with reviewing our regulations and
Right,
the master plan and those sorts of things to make sure that if
right.
housing projects come before us,
Right.
our regulations are ready
Right.
to consider what we
Should
should.
we get a grant for this?
We do.
Yes, to help with
We
planning
do.
board
Help
expenses
Is that
on these issues.
100% grant or do we?
It is 100% no match.
I don't think we're
Our
talking
match
large
will
amounts
be-
of money.
No, for the initial review of our regulations, we won't, there's no way we're gonna use $25,000, but we'll, whatever time she spends on this,
This
this
car?
will be our
Right.
plan, yeah.
Right.
Whatever time she spends will be eligible for reimbursement.
Okay. Any idea when we're here?
No, it's a rolling program.
Okay,
And we were one of the first towns to return this pre-app, so hopefully we can get our application together and submit it right away.
okay. Let me just jump down to the reval project.
Can we?
Do you want to do the zoning ordinance now?
Yeah.
Good now with it? All right,
So Dave, so we have, I provided you with an email from our town attorney regarding temporary signs. We've been receiving phone calls, a couple of phone calls, and we do have a couple of signs that were put up, one on Route 49 and which doesn't really apply to us because it's on national forest and
state right away.
away. So that doesn't really apply, but we did have a sign put up on private land here in town, which raised questions with our ordinance. And we asked Joe Driscoll
Right.
and Tara to give us an opinion. I provided you with Joe's
Mhm.
opinion in there, and Tara concurred with what he wrote.
The problem being in all of this, that you can't treat political signs any different than any other temporary sign.
But we were, our zoning doesn't treat them differently. It just, it says on single family homes, you can't have any sign.
Well, that's the problem now. It's not a question of the difference between political signs and temporary signs, right, Dave? It is the fact that we're treating different property types
Right.
differently,
The chart is based on property types, not on zones.
not on zones, and that's correct.
Right,
So so you could theoretically, and there are several instances around
where it could
town.
happen.
In fact, where the sign
Actually is, yeah,
you have a single family home that would not be allowed to have a sign. And then right next door to it, you would have a condo association, which could have multiple signs.
Yeah.
Depending on how many,
Two signs, right?
well, but
Right.
depending on how many entrances they have,
Oh.
they could have two
Correct.
signs on each entrance. So, and again, it is, plus you have the state law, which always trumps town regulations.
right,
Which lays out a different way to regulate signs that's different than our ordinance. So
But the state law basically says you can put a political sign up on private property, correct?
that's what it does say. If you have the property owner's permission, you can put up a political sign. Yes.
So
That's what the state
doesn't that
does.
trump what our
Well,
well,
zoning regulation says?
that's what I thought, but
everybody, yes, that is all the. that's the
Joe's not saying
impression
that.
All of us
Right.
was that's what would happen. Okay? But that isn't what the town attorney said.
because he's saying that it doesn't actually say you can't prohibit someone putting a sign on private property. It's saying that it's flipped. It's the negative way, right?
Yes,
Not the positive way.
that's right. Dave, what you?
So previously, I kind of wrestled with this and I've been staying the course because a couple of years ago, this opinion came down as don't touch political signs, they're covered by the state statute. They are not, would not be considered a temporary sign under our ordinance, they're covered by state law. And because we don't want to be caught permitting any political signs.
If we treated it the same.
Or prohibited.
Or
either way.
Or prohibiting that.
Right.
Any political signs. And in my feeling, I think we should certainly stay away from that. I think, the ordinance changes should show that, whether or not we need a caveat in the town ordinance that say political signs are not considered temporary signs. Okay, or
Several communities in the state
Do that. And they use that, they define a political sign, a political advertisement out as it's defined
In the
66417, except we're not supposed to read it, so we can't kind of figure out what it is. I mean, this.
So if you said that,
And I disagree with it on that part, because you still have to look at the sign, I think,
Right,
you know, for what it is, you know, certainly our temporary signs or ordinances, yes, we can't regulate the message, we can regulate the size, how they install it, that sort of material that is made of, that sort of thing.
But the biggest problem we have with our ordinance right now is it's not consistent for every property. And that is, I think, what he is saying with his recommendation.
right. There is that fundamental problem.
There's the
We treat
fundamental problem is that we're treating people different.
single family and two family
but
home
beyond
properties
that,
different.
do we as a town want to have political signs in town? I mean, and if we don't, is there a way to word,
Well,
Word
the only way to do that is to ban all temporary signs. And then somebody could come in and get a permanent sign as long as they met all of the requirements of our permanent sign ordinance.
so I don't think we
And
wanted.
it would be political and could put a political message on it. So you're never gonna, unless you ban all signs, you're never gonna stop
Can't read it.
political signs. Because now we can't read them. That's the biggest change.
See, when we looked at this, actually, we redid this in 2019.
Correct.
The planning board and we were struggling with, and we thought we solved this idea of how to deal with political signs and that they just would not be covered. We were just silent on it, that they would not be covered. We would treat it as we've historically treated them, because they haven't really been a major issue, right?
No,
Yeah.
they look as asked, and for the most part, they pop up, they go away.
Right.
You know, and.
Somebody put up a couple of signs that said Bob for selectmen.
They did.
And we
And
ignored
they're-
it because we
Right.
don't, we have historically not regulated political signs. We thought we were doing the right thing.
Yes.
So I think some towns, the way they've looked at it is to essentially adopt 66417 and then make political signs not temporary signs.
That's right.
Right.
And I think that is a good recommendation to the planning board to think about.
That's right. So the planning board, actually, this discussion is for the planning board to try to figure out how do we get out of this bind? Right now, the question is, what do we do with an ordinance which, on the face of it, treats political signs differently depending upon
Treats property.
property owners differently with regard to political signs.
But if we adopt the state statute as the one we follow with respect to political signs, doesn't that treat political signs different than other signs?
That is the argument that Joe Driscoll is making.
Right.
I would disagree with that. I mean, I think we are a creature, the town of Waterville Valley is a subdivision of the state of New Hampshire. I think in this particular instance, because it is potentially controversial, that this would be one of the things we would want to look to the state law. They have solved it a certain way, adopt what they've done.
And I think moving as we have, since this issue came up, years ago. I think we're doing exactly what we intend to do. We just need the ordinance to match the way that we're doing our enforcement currently.
Which would mean mirroring essentially 66417.
Yes.
And exempting
it can be as
political
simple
signs.
As a definition of a political sign or definition of a
Sign you can't read.
temporary sign, which does not include political signs.
So
So
we're talking about
it's
a warrant
offending.
item to match the state.
Well, yeah, ask the planning board.
Well, I think that, I'm sorry. go ahead.
Yeah, so does it then become a new proposed?
Yes,
Zoning
it'll be an
ordinance.
amendment.
Right.
It'll be an amendment
To the zone.
to the zoning
No.
ordinance.
Does it now become a new selectmen ordinance on political signs?
No, you don't need to,
No,
because it's in, our sign regulations are inside the zoning ordinance.
There's not
So
a
all you've
separate
gotta do
selectmen's
is-
ordinance. on
That's
signs.
correct. All you have to do is adopt or amend the zone.
the zoning. So we let the
That would be
planning
the
board
only
wrestle
change.
with this.
Yeah.
And decide what they think the best course is, and then we can look at it at that point,
Yeah, there's two things.
Right.
It's correcting that table that
treats
treats.
property
different
owners
property owner
differently with regard to signs.
And then I think it's putting the language in that differentiates political signs. and
From
temporary
other
signs.
signs, right?
Well, because the state law is silent on temporary signs, right?
Right,
If we excluded political signs from that definition of
what a
temporary
temporary
sign,
sign is,
then you could leave the ordinance in place and
right,
prohibit other temporary signs on single-family home
Right.
properties, if that's what you wanted to do.
Right.
It's just that the political signs are where we are
Right.
going to get called on.
if we exempt them from our sign ordinance, then our sign ordinance, this isn't a no issue,
There's no.
There's no
issue. You
purchase
don't even have to
whatsoever.
change
right,
it. If you like, if town likes it the way it is,
right,
it's just it's going to be more and more controversial going forward, and it's better for us not to get into the middle of, I think, with regards to the political signs.
So do the selectmen have the power to exempt political signs, or does that have to go through the planning board and into the?
It's gotta go through the
Through the
planning
warrant,
board.
it's a zoning.
amendment.
So what issues do we have?
Right
What
now,
do we do now?
right now,
Yeah,
what we're asking you is, his recommendation is for you, I don't think you need to vote on this, but just instruct the code enforcement officer to not enforce the temporary sign portion of our zoning ordinance.
for any sign,
For
any temporary sign,
Yes, that's the only way to treat everybody the same across the board.
but it doesn't necessarily have to run to the town meeting in March. Once the planning board adopts language for a warrant, we can then use that as the basis of enforcement
That's correct,
until town meeting
until town meeting.
accepts it or rejects it.
Right.
So we're really talking till
You're
December,
talking from now until the beginning of December.
right? Well, 3 months,
Unfortunately, it's right through the political season, so. And that's why we would just need you to give us some guidance on
right?
enforcement. Because that is your purpose.
The other thing would be just to ban all temporary signs, and that's,
Well, yeah, but we have some
yeah,
annual events.
yeah, no, that's
We
what
have
that's why we're not, that's not a very palatable.
I don't think that's a
uh,
very palatable option, but
Right,
it is available, I guess.
So do you just take this to the planning board?
for the longer term solution, come up with something for a zoning amendment for next year's warrant. But in the meantime, we need to decide as the enforcement arm, do we agree with the town council and just go ahead and suspend town
That
enforcement?
means we won't have any temporary sign permits. And we won't
Right,
take any down. If somebody.
people can put for sale signs up or, well, I mean, you know.
That is, yes,
You know,
that is,
or other sorts of signs, having to do with garage sales,
whatever.
whatever we consider a temporary sign. It's either that or ban the whole kit and caboodle.
Mm.
That's how I read it.
We really thought we did the right thing before and kind of disappointed with this.
Well, I think we were basing it too on some earlier legal opinion that we got on it. So this was a bit of a surprise
It
to
was.
us, I think that. We just couldn't cite 66417 and move forward.
You okay with that?
I thought when people put political signs out that they did have to get permission, but we did not charge for the political sign.
No, we stopped doing that in 2019.
Okay,
That's
We
why
went, we,
Supreme
whatever,
Court.
the exact wording of 66417 is what we've been enforcing. RSA 66417. Right?
I still think we should continue to enforce it.
Well, we can We can do that. I mean, people, this decision that we just, that Joe lays out here does not give people carte blanche to put them wherever they want. They can't put them in the town right of ways.
Right,
They can't put
No,
them
but on
on
private
town
property.
on
property.
private
But
property.
on private
Private
property
property,
is what we're
right.
saying. So, I mean, enforcing 664-17 is not an issue.
We're doing it anyway,
We're
essentially.
doing it anyway.
We are.
Police.
Until we get this straightened out, Mike, I would not be in favor of suspending enforcement. I would just continue doing what we're doing until we straighten it out.
And
And if people want to ask about temporary signs or political signs, we say we are following 664-17, which says that people have the right to put that up
Okay,
on their own property or with the permission of a property owner. And they also have to take them down when the election is over, whatever those rules say.
Second Friday after the election,
Yeah.
you're a loser.
I mean,
Basically.
I don't see, I understand what our legal counsel is saying, but on the other hand, that's what he is, a legal counsel. He's not somebody who is telling us what to
Right.
do.
that's correct.
Nor do we have to take his advice if it appears to be lacking in common sense for the situation we're in at this point in
That's-
time. So it seems to me that the best course of action is to continue with doing what we're doing. And then we can go through the planning board process to decide what to
How to-
do from there.
How to fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my view. That's why I was not very happy with, like you, the
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, that's,
spending.
I appreciate his advice, but I think we need to do something different at this one time.
I'm okay with that.
Okay with that.
All right, let's just continue what we're doing and, right,
So there will still be sign permits and people will
Right.
just,
Mhm.
all the other signs.
Right.
but we will not permit
Okay,
or otherwise regulate political signs on private property,
very good.
which could be on some right of ways, by the way, but you're more correct than I am.
Yeah. Great.
On that.
When you get these two guys on here, one more thing, treatment plans,
Treatment plant,
the treatment plant, that the letter, this is a draft from that Joe and I worked up for the send to DES. This was a request by Assistant Commissioner Sanborn that we do the same type of letter on the EPA project. Yeah, copies. I got a copy for you.
so what's the upshot of this, what I'm
Well,
supposed to be
this,
signing here?
this is a letter that we would send in, and then the state is going to approach EPA about our permit limits,
Odds,
less than 1%,
okay,
but we
might not,
don't know unless we ask. So
okay. So we're asking them to loosen the restriction, I don't know how else to put it, to increase the,
no, I think this is kind of a unique solution because it
Okay.
keeps the permit limit at 1. But because the equipment operators will not certify their equipment lower than 2,
because no company will,
the manufacturers
Right.
of the equipment
right?
will not certify below 2. In effect, what we would be saying is anytime they get no reading,
Mhm.
0 reading, or no reading,
Anything less than two,
Anything
essentially,
less
then
than
is
two.
less than one,
that's
because
what
it's a zero.
is,
in their
is
eyes.
that what
That's what we're asking for,
asking them to do.
all right,
So we would be in compliance if it was less than 2, but the standard is still 1 or less.
But I don't see the 2 anywhere in this.
No, that was just,
It's inferred, Margaret, because most of the equipment operators or suppliers
Okay.
won't certify
Less than two, correct?
less than two.
It's that, as such, no equipment manufacturer will provide a process guarantee
Correct.
on their technology to limits that cannot be measured.
Right.
Which is what you're asking us to
That's
measure,
that's what EPA is asking us to do.
right?
We found a workaround, our guys found a workaround, that we do it.
We're the only ones that I know of, maybe the whole country, that use the standard method that we do. And when we, a few months back or in July, we had our site visit from the state. It's an annual. I had a discussion with Nancy Leger, who was our state inspector. She's retiring after this year. And we spoke to. It was a long conversation about what would happen if this standard method went away. So standard methods is science as a whole, specifically water and wastewater, they cover, everything nationwide anyway. And if this standard method was no longer recognized as a standard method, everything that we've done for the last 50 years would no longer be recognized as true science. So,
And that we're gonna have to continue to use going forward.
correct, that's my point, is if
Right.
it went away, no matter what we say, the EPA would no longer recognize that as a standard method for us to test by.
Right.
So
what do we do?
So the
That's what
equipment,
we're asking the
That-
the
EPA.
Right.
equipment
Right.
here has a minimum detection limit of 5 milligrams.
that is, I believe that's, speaking about Houston Analytical, who uses the sub-laboratory.
Yeah.
We don't use them for a suspended solid because they can only measure down to 285. So we had to do it in-house with that special standard method that we use. The point of that being they're a professional certified laboratory and they can only measure down to a 5.
So if they don't detect,
Down to a 1 or lower.
Mhm.
then anything lower than a 5 would be considered in compliance.
And to be fair, on the town's behalf, we did mention in our response to the EPA that the EPA region standard is a 5. That's the minimum. The EPA minimum region standard is 5.
But they have the backsliding law, which they keep referring to, and that's the reason they didn't change our permit.
Correct. And that's the only justification for it, is that they cite is we have the
The
anti-backslide
anti-backslide.
laws, they're not changed. So,
Wonderful bureaucracy. But anyway, we're gonna have the state try to help us out. It's basically
Yes,
the upshot.
they-
this is a two-pronged
Mhm.
attack here in a way, because it also talks about, I believe the last paragraph was, the last 2 paragraphs of the
Yeah.
first page. How we were dropped down in our priority list for funding.
Mhm.
So we're asking for it to be revisited, to raise it
Right.
back up to get additional funding out of this. I don't know.
Right.
That's 0.1% chance.
Right,
Because
right.
we would
That-
mess with everybody.
Which
above
that
us.
has a whole other.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't
issue.
think we.
No, it's a worthwhile attempt though, because who knows if the pot of money is, exactly what they have said it is, so.
Any discussion? Bob? Margaret? All right,
If you're all right, you can sign that PDF.
Yep. Okay. Shall we finish up with the reval project?
I'm sorry.
Reval, I think is the only thing I have left.
The reval commented 20, less than 20.
Yeah, just about 20 minutes, actually.
Yeah.
What was great.
Yeah, and there's quite some more information, like we were going on the door and stuff.
So that's this Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yes, but not on Saturday.
Oh, I thought one.
We had it available, but we didn't need it.
Oh, okay.
So it'll
Okay,
be done Thursday and Friday,
okay, so tomorrow and
tomorrow.
Friday.
Do you think we got about 50-50 in person and over the phone?
Yeah, it's about even.
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing else there then?
And I did talk to Mike Aronson about it as well. He's answered a few questions, so I think that's helped us as well.
And after the project, we're gonna ask Whitney Consulting to give us some guidance on how we can get all of those property cards electronified and up and through.
21st century.
Yeah.
Well, they'll be part of our online map.
Yes.
That'll be a lot better.
Sure would. Okay, board concerns and directives. Margaret, Bob, anything?
Talk about the Britton land and in the non-public.
Okay. Anything else then?
Let's see.
All right, I think we have, oh, there's something.
Nope.
Okay, correspondence.
Coalition Communities 2.0. We have, the group has sent out the email that I attached. We're asking communities to, whether or not they want to commit to the next biennium legislative session for the group. So the question to the board is, do you want to continue to participate in the group?
Sure. What does it cost?
It costs us about $350 to $400 a year to participate. And
Do you need a vote?
yes, I
Yeah.
need a vote and I need that this sheet signed.
Okay. So we are voting on.
Coalition.
It's right here.
Yes,
I move we continue to be part of the coalition.
Coalition Community, now called Coalition Community 2.0.
Yeah.
Communities 2.0.
Yeah, and your signature is here and we'll fill it out.
All right. I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, do we have anything else for a public session?
I don't think so. Non-public. I don't think we need any. Steve to stick around with this.
Right, thank you.
No, just me. Pass it along. Going into non-public. Yep, go ahead, I mean, whatever, it's 5:03.